Hi, welcome to Retro Cheese Review, where I force my friends and loved ones to watch cheesy movies from my childhood. Although in this case, John chose, so it wasn't me, even though we both have seen this. So with me is John.
Hello.
And John doesn't know, but I just lamely, did an applause button for introducing John because I'm very lame and have a soundboard now and wanted to make sure to use it. I'll be annoying all of you subscribers and non-subscribers throughout that. So if you enjoy annoying content, then subscribe. So today we will be today we'll be reviewing because John wanted to do something a little more spoopy because it's the month of spoop. At least that's the case unless Felicia gets really slow on editing this and then it comes out in like November or something.
And then she's fired.
And then she's better than I am at editing, as you can see from the earlier videos where I'm just like, fuck it, we'll do it live, putting it out. So John chose Killer Klowns from Outer Space, a god-awful movie that came out in the 1980s and was cheesy even for the 1980s. It feels like it's trying to be like 1960s horror. Diving in a little bit before we get into our nostalgia review, I'm going to go into Rotten Tomatoes. This surprisingly ranked well in Rotten Tomatoes. The critic score is 76%, and the audience score is 60%. Rated PG-13 and came out in 1988.
That's PG-13.
Yeah, just PG-13. There's no real blood.
I know, but just the trauma that it put little kids through.
Yeah, no. Like as a kid, I didn't find it that. I did find clowns scary. This one, I was like, I thought it was trying to be Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, but weirder. I think it may have Attack of the Killer Tomatoes may have came out first. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. And I just remember seeing that first, and I was like, this is somehow trying to one up that. And I was afraid of clowns as a kid, but like Stephen King's It is what I was afraid of. This I was like, this isn't scary. And now, mind you, this came out when I was like 4, and I probably saw it like maybe a couple years later because my parents let me watch horror movies. Like, they didn't really care. I would say as a kid, I probably rated it like a 2. I didn't really enjoy it as a kid.
Yeah.
How about you, John? The nostalgia, like, what are you thinking?
Well, nostalgia-wise, I mean, I probably watched this originally when I was, I think, middle school. In fact, Phil, who we've had on the show before, he introduced it to me. So probably middle school or like early high school. And I remember watching it then and just being like, what the crap has Phil shown me? But
what has he done?
Yes, what horror has he brought on me? And so yeah, we were talking. I was just thinking about really cheesy, weird, spoopy movies we could watch, and this was the first thing that popped up.
Yeah, the first thing you think of is Killer Klowns, and I want to mention that Killer Klowns, Klowns is spelled with a K, because they wanted to really dive into that. And I think there's a remake coming out, or there was a remake. I don't know.
They were trying to, I understand. I don't know if it went through. Ironically, the days after I suggested we watch this movie, the trailer for the video game came out.
Yeah, I saw that there's like a Killer Klowns video game coming out.
Yeah,
and that seemed...
That was actually really creepy coincidence of timing.
That wasn't intentional, but it will play well with tagging the video.
I laughed. I flat out just belly laughed when I saw that.
Yeah, I sometimes get surprised what gets the most views. Right now on this channel, the most views, other than the shorts of making my friends eat cheese, is literally the Honey, I Blew Up So this video will determine, was it Rick Moranis that the audience wants, or do they want more John? It's just more John. That's what it is.
You love it.
So yeah, diving into this movie, one thing that's got to be said before we really get into the plot, the clowns look creepy as fuck.
Yes.
The effects are very weird because it goes back and forth between 1960s horror movie level bad and like actually really good for the 80s impressive stuff. It's like the puppetry, like the clown. I assume they're puppets, or just something that's really wrong with people. I don't think that you could get that through makeup.
I felt like a few times they might have gone to like stop motion to make some of the faces happen.
Oh yeah, something. I don't know what they did. They're creepy as hell. It's funny though because you go kind of between like these really creepy practical effects, even some really good for the 80s sci-fi level effects, and then like you get into like the clown driving down the street on the motorcycle, and it literally looks like something out of a Hitchcock movie of like green screen, like bad, of like they're not driving. Like this is terrible. And I feel like this movie, despite being the 80s horror movies, like 80s horror movies are always cheesy as hell.
Oh, they're great for that reason.
But like this was a blend of 80s and it was trying to be 80s, but at the same time it was almost trying to be like an old school like 1960s horror movie in a lot of ways. I felt like
the acting was definitely in the 60s.
Yeah, because they're even doing like the movie kind of starts out with the kids up on like Makeout Hill. It almost reminds me of like an old Hitchcock movie or like or like one of the movies like the Blob or whatever, like that level like of cheesy. Like it was trying to be that, but bring that into the 80s. It almost felt like it was an 80s remake of a 60s movie, if I didn't know better. But I, for the love of God, know that the 60s they wouldn't have done a clown-based movie like that.
I do love that the movie clearly knew what it was, and it was owning it the entire time, though.
Yeah, no, it knows 100%. And the music's awesome. There is so much goddamn theremin. Like there is just someone is just like more theremin. Their theremin budget, like that's where like half their budget like was to theremin players.
That and the costumes.
Oh yeah, the costumes.
The costumes, the sets, maybe, though some of the sets might have just been taken out of like a 1960s sci-fi thing and just painted over.
The sets were actually pretty good. Like if you put this stuff in like Disney or whatever, Disney would never do this, but like Universal. This is up Universal's alley. If you put this in like Universal and had this in like a haunted house, I'd be like, well, this is creepy as hell. And the great thing about it is, haunted house workers to this day have probably copied a lot from this.
Oh, so much of it. But it was fun to watch just them, in the whatever tent spaceship running from the clowns and just turning a corner and be like, oh, we're in this type of room now. Okay, sure, why not?
Yeah, and let's go ahead and just kind of dive into the plot a little bit.
Is there a plot?
The plot, well, really, like, that's the thing that, like, at first I was like, this is boring, this is, like, because most of these movies don't have a plot, but this one really did. Like, you could tell while it was cheesy and at first didn't have a plot and I just wanted to scroll on Facebook, like, that's my whole thing of, it's 2023, I'm bored, I'm just going to doom scroll. This kind of took me away from it there for a second, and my, I was a fan of old horror movies, and I started noticing, like, the very, very, very trope plot of, like, a 1960s horror movie. That's what I noticed. It really felt like, and again, I know I've reiterated this a lot, but, like, it felt like a 1980s movie set with a 1960s like horror movie plot, because it starts out like these kids up on like Makeout Point. The randomness of it is that suddenly like these other kids in these other teenagers in this ice cream truck show up and try to and they're trying to get laid by giving free ice cream to these chicks who are like, oh, take us home, we're not those kind of girls, we just wanted free ice cream. It was weird. But then like a meteor falls and this one dude and his girlfriend are like, let's go check that out. We're going to check out the meteor. And
that girl
like,
was all into it too.
Oh, she was like, we need to check out this meteor now. No more makings out for you, meteor.
Never again.
And the meteor is a spaceship that looks like a circus tent, which is amazing. Leads to one of the best scenes in the movie. Like early on, they did not. They should have saved this scene of like the old guy like stumbling onto the spaceship, and like the spaceship eats his dog, and then the clown comes out and makes a dog out of a balloon animal, and that dog comes alive. The dog comes alive, the balloon animal dog, and starts barking at him and attacking the guy.
Yeah, but the first thing that happens is they take out the dog, and it's like, oh, it's that type of movie.
Yeah. They went for the dog
right away.
That's not cool, clowns. That established them as the bad guy. Like, you can kill horny teenagers. We expect that out of a horror movie. Yeah. But dogs, and then they're like, well, now we can create our dog, which is, a balloon animal. And then these teenagers stumble upon it. They go in, and like the clowns are wrapping bodies in cotton candy. They freak the hell out. They go to the police station. There's this new cop there. The girl's like, I know one of the cops there. They'll help us. And you find out like there's a newer cop there that's like, he went to a fancy police academy. And then there's the old cop who's just a douchebag. Just a tremendous douche. He's like, oh, you think you're better than me because you actually went to police academy? Back in my day, we learned how to be cops by beating up people and oppressing, the lower class.
Mm-hmm. And I get a text message from you this afternoon and being like, this guy is a jerk.
Yeah, he is a douche. He is a douchebag. And then that leads to like them telling, like the other cop, the young cop listens to him because you find out like that's her ex-boyfriend, the girl. That creates some weird tension between the current boyfriend and the ex, who are very much, both of them are the exact same person, just with different hair color. Yes. That color copy of like 80s Chad.
Yeah, it's just the same guy, yeah.
It's 80s had a habit of just printing Chads. I think that they just had a 3D printer and they're like, here we go. Let's put this Chad in this movie. So same guy. Only they're nice. They're not 80s villain douche. They're both fairly nice.
Yeah, we had Sweater Chad and we had Cop Chad.
Yeah, and the douchebag cop, he's like, I'm not going to be fooled by this. You're not going to turn me into a dummy. And the actor leaned on that line so goddamn much that I literally text John. And I couldn't remember. I have a pretty good memory, but I watched this movie when I was like little. And I like text John, and I'm like, they're going to turn him into a dummy, aren't they?
I did not respond to
You didn't respond. But like, because the actor leans on it so much that he read the full script, and then he just couldn't help himself. Mm-hmm. Because there's the one thing, it would be a clever foreshadowing, but he did it so much. He was like, you're not going to turn me into a dummy, and then he might as well have just winked into the goddamn camera at that point.
Yeah. I think he even leaned forward when he said it, too.
Yeah, no, that actor wanted that to happen. You could tell he thought it was hilarious that later he was going to be a dummy. And they get into... So, like, the cop and the girl and the guy, they drive back and, they decide, the cop's like, we need to drop you off at home to the girl, and they drop her off at home, even though she's like, I want to go back to where they murdered those people, because that's swell. Mm-hmm. Cop, takes the clowns are now not there, so he's like clearly like, oh, you're full of shit. Handcuffs the guy, but then he takes him up to like make out, Hill or whatever it is, generic, make out place, and they see like all these cars are wrapped in cotton candy and stuff. So now he believes them.
The interior of the car just completely filled with cotton candy.
With cotton candy.
It's like that's actually a little creepy.
And broken glasses, yeah.
Yeah.
So at that point, like the cop's scared as hell. Mm-hmm. And him and the kid split up. Or no, they don't split up. First, they're driving down the road and they run into a clown. And what I want to know, one, there's already the question. These clowns are clearly from outer space. The movie says this. They're in a spaceship. What I want to know is when they get to the clown that's doing shadow puppets, we already are confused where the clown culture comes from. That maybe that's where we get clowns from. Maybe they visited us before. Yeah. But, like, he has shadow puppets that he would have to know our culture to understand the shadow puppets that he's doing. He's got Washington crossing the Delaware.
Yeah, yes, he did.
And then, like, they watch, like, the kid's like, he's going to kill these people. And the cop's like, no. let's let the plot progress a little bit. Like, he pretty much says that.
He looks harmless enough. He's just being entertaining.
He's just a morbidly obese clown in terrifying, inhuman shapes and sizes, making shadow puppets that bend reality to a point where I might think this is a Call of Cthulhu campaign.
And every single person that encounters a clown to the same reaction of like, hey, a creepy clown, but they're being funny. Why don't we stand here and see?
Oh, it's a clown. And it's like, no, they literally look like, a horrors of like world, of like a war documentary in clown makeup. They don't look human.
No.
But people are like, look at the clown. Even kids, look at the silly clown, Mom. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, I would have seen it and been like, what the fuck is that? Like, it's 1988. Maybe they just all assumed because Reagan had just closed down all the mental institution that's where the clowns came from.
Oh, no.
It's like I think it lines up around that year, that like Reagan shut down all the mental institutions. I'm like, oh, look at them. That's our Reagan.
I did not put those two and two together.
But yeah, the clown makes a shadow puppet that eats all of them. The guy freaks out and they crash the cop car into the clown, but he jumps away. Then there's like a scene at a motorcycle. There's just a lot of crazy scenes from there. There's the motorcycle scene where the clown rides up on the bike.
I wanted to bring that up because I watched the clown ride up on the bike to the motorcycle gang who's out in the alley and they're all drunk and tough and everything. And I thought to myself, this is this town's major line of defense right here. The entire
motorcycle gang.
They are the only hope.
Small town 1980s. It's the motorcycle gang.
You have two cops. One's not going to do anything. The other one's overwhelmed. But these guys, if they were motivated and guided properly, could have saved the town, right? Mm-hmm. And one guy confronted the clown and got his head knocked clean off.
Oh, yeah, and it's funny because he says in the same way that cop's like, are you going to make a dummy out of me? He's like, what, are you going to knock my block off?
Yeah, and then the clown pulls out boxing gloves and literally one hit
just knocks his head into like a trash can. Well,
everybody else runs and scatters. And
to be fair, the biker deserved it because he broke the clown's bike.
He was a douche about it, but
yeah.
He was trying to stand up for, America
and freedom. Yeah. You got to stand up against them commie Russian clowns. That's what they were. It's 1988. We just assumed it was the Cold War.
Now, my main thing of watching this whole movie, because it's just one scene after another of clowns engaging people in different ways and taking them out. And half the time, they would zap them into cotton candy bundles, right? Which they take back for later.
Which is where cotton candy comes from.
And the other half the time, they are killing people, like knocking their head off, shadow puppet murder, in different ways. But the whole time watching is like, clowns, what is your end goal? Because I get the cotton candy thing you are doing to take people back, but you're also just randomly murdering. Shouldn't you be cotton candying everything?
Yeah, because it's clear that that's their goal, is to put them in cotton candy cocoons.
Or then one person randomly got ballooned. And
multiple people did. So what I figured out, loosely, was they needed to kill some people just because they were having fun. And the people they perceived as threats, like the bikers.
Yeah.
People they could easily capture, they turned into cotton candy, and those people I think were becoming more killer clowns. I think that's how they breed. I think they're like alien, because they had a ton of clowns at the end, and I think the people that, and we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I think the people in the balloons, but I think the people in the balloons, because there's the giant god clown at the end, I think that they were doing some sort of thing where they were feeding him like energy. At least that's my assumption. They didn't. I don't know if the script was that deep, because part of me thinks the script was written in crayon.
That's why when you said there was a plot, my brain was like, "There's a plot besides clown murder."
Another thing was, though, that I was thinking, like, okay, so these clowns are trying to reproduce this way, but then they're like firing popcorn guns at them in the beginning, and then the popcorn turns into like clown monsters.
Yes, which
And I'm like, so they don't need the
Sure,
cotton
why
candy
not?
to reproduce. They can just infinitely reproduce with popcorn.
yeah.
Clearly,
Which
they are gods.
I also just love the variety of technology they have. They have a shotgun scatter gun that fires popcorn that latches onto you and makes new clowns.
Yeah. And we also find out that like their technology and stuff's way beyond us. They're immune to guns and stuff. But if you shoot that big ass nose, they just like vaporize into like blue dust
They spin
with
and
loud
explode.
theremin music.
And like I love how they figure that out right at the end, But
Oh,
it's
not even
the-
like the cop. Like that cop figures it out pretty quick. He's like, "Oh, okay, the nose."
yeah.
And now I'll get a shotgun. This all, of course, leads to like the main characters, the three of them, as well as the people who drove the ice cream truck.
The
They all end up,
boys, yeah.
yeah, they all end up in like the main base. They're running away and stuff. They use the shotgun to barricade a door, like their only weapon that they've been dropping clowns with.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's use this to barricade the door. And there's like, it's three main characters, so the love interest, the cop, and we did miss the fact that the older cop does get turned into a literal puppet.
He does. The younger cop goes to the police station, finds all the creepy clown shoe imprints everywhere,
Yeah.
and then finds that the older jerk cop has
Yeah.
been turned into a dummy
His-
by the biggest clown they have.
Yeah, his hand's way up in there.
Yeah, that's actually a little scary when you realize he
Yeah.
dumps the cop and
And-
he has to brush all the blood off his hand.
And to be fair, he deserved it also because
He did.
he tried to do full police brutality on that clown, not even knowing what he was.
Yeah.
He just thought he was some teenager, and he tried to just beat the shit out of him. And the clown's like, "Well, that's not very nice of you." Not talking because they don't talk.
Not one.
There's also the scene I missed that they're in the pharmacy, and I don't know if you caught this. They're like wrecking the pharmacy, killing everyone in there. They're ignoring the pharmacist, leaving this poor old dude alone. And the entire time, the actor's just like, and he's not saying anything. The weird thing, he's not saying anything. But it's like the director decided later, well, we kind of wanted him to say stuff, so he's doing this. But you occasionally hear him going, "What are you doing?" And it's like, he's not moving his lips, and he's saying, "What are you doing?"
I missed that.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? The audio does not match up here. At that point, the editor was just like, I don't care, man. It's about fucking clowns. Like,
Yeah.
the editor's just like, I will splice this in wherever the hell I want.
But I did like how the rest of the clowns are going around. They clearly, like you pointed out, they know our culture, they know our technology, and they're causing mayhem. And then you have these two clowns just in that store, just poking at everything, and at one point,
Almost Gremlin style, I feel like
Yeah, like they
Gremlins in
didn't-
the bar.
yeah, they didn't know what they were doing. They don't know what the stuff is. One sprays the other with shaving cream. Just shenanigans.
Sniffs some makeup powder and sneezes.
Mm-hmm.
But in like this guttural, like demon sneeze, like, "Brrr."
Yeah.
Like all of them sound like they're talking through like a weird, like they're talking into a fan.
Yeah, they're space alien demon clowns.
Yeah, I don't know if the writer knew what they were.
They were some kind of horrible drug trip he had.
It's whatever the strongest drug that existed in the 80s. They took that and then they wrote it on a bar napkin. I think that's how this movie was made.
So many clowns. Oh my goodness. That was the craziest thing, how many actors they had going.
So the craziest thing is when they get into the final scene, which is at a circus, of course.
That was
They get to that like final scene, like that whole like thing where they're going through the spaceship and trying to stop them, and the entire time the dudes in the ice cream truck, they've been trying to get women. They didn't even believe their friend to help him initially, but he convinced them to help him because he's like, my girlfriend's got roommates and they got big boobs. They run into clowns with big boobs. creepy ass clowns, but they have boobs.
The
And
one girl clown, the boobs start growing.
yeah, like, and it's like a balloon. And
Yeah.
instead of being horrified, they're just like, "Are you such and such's roommates?"
Didn't they
And
nod?
yeah, you assume they're gonna die. You
Yeah.
assume they're dead. We get to that point that I'd mentioned where they barricade the room with the shotgun, and the three main characters are surrounded by clowns, and all of a
Surrounded
sudden,
by clowns that don't have any guns. They came out with only
only
one.
melee weapons. They're ready to just beat the shit out of them.
You guys have caused us so much trouble. We're not even gonna eat you anymore. We're just gonna savagely, slowly beat you to death.
And it's a lot of clowns.
It's so many.
And then the ice cream truck bursts through the wall. The two female clowns aren't there. We don't know what happened to them, but these two guys are covered in kisses, like lipstick everywhere. And for some reason, over the loudspeaker, because their ice cream truck conveniently has a clown head, they know the name of the clown god now. Did you catch that? Because they're like, "We are such and such, obey us," and the clowns obey them. And it's like, that means they have not only seduced the two female clowns, but enough that the female clowns have told them about their entire religion and everything. That's what I caught from that. Yeah, those two saw things.
They've seen and they experienced and they survived. I mean,
They Captain Kirked those aliens.
yes, they did.
They full on they went into this like, these are aliens and we're Captain Kirk and William Riker. And they took one for the team because those things are horrifying looking. I get they're 80s teenagers, so they were just like, they might look like freakish clowns, but at least they got boobs. Like, I think that was like the thought behind those people.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even. Oh my.
You didn't catch that part. Yeah, they know the name of the clown god, and all the clowns like lay down their weapons and stuff, and they're like, okay, until they summon the gigantic monster god clown, who is the actual.
I've forgotten what it looked like. It came down on strings. It was like a marionette.
Yeah, he's like marionette at first. At first,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is just really bad. They forgot to edit out the strings, but then he comes off of the strings, so it was intentional.
Yeah, it was cool though.
Yeah, and he smashes that ice cream truck, throws it, it blows up. You assume those kids are dead. God bless them. They, had sex with clowns and then died.
They truly died like heroes.
The cop is like, get, such, I don't even know, generic 80s girlfriend out of here. I'll hold off, And they run out. The teenager and his girlfriend get out of there while the cop tries to fight off the big guy. They run into like the entire like state troopers and stuff have showed up, and just in time to see the entire ship turns into like a big like top and is like spinning away. It literally looks like, if you've seen the South Park episode where they go to Jewish camp, the Jew squirts, and what Moses looks like.
Great and honorable Moses, what do you desire from us, your children?
I desire macaroni pictures.
Where they do the Tron spinning, spinning dreidel Tron Moses. And it's like about to fly away, then it blows up into like fireworks and stuff. Because you see on the inside that like as soon as the cop, like, he's getting picked up by the guy, and it's all like Game of Thrones troll killing that little girl style. And then he uses his badge. That's how easy they are to kill. He just uses his badge to stab the clown's nose, the god of clowns, and that kills him. That's how easy it was. You assume they're dead. Everyone's dead. The cop is dead. And you assume that and the two friends. But then a clown car flies out, and out comes the cop. He's alive. And the two friends are alive, covered in ice cream because they hid in their ice cream cooler.
Yeah.
Conveniently, and they're alive.
Yeah, everything has to turn out great in the end, except for the rest of the town that got massacred. But yeah,
here's the weirdest part of the movie. At the very end,
the weirdest part.
The cop, who's the ex-boyfriend, and the boyfriend and the girl are triple hugging each other. And the cop, who's the ex-boyfriend, even kisses the girl's hair. And I'm just like, they're a throuple now. That's fucking weird, man. That's no judgment, but I'm like, that they saw enough shit that they're just like, well, this is happening now. Like they've bonded over killing clowns.
They are bound forever.
I kind of caught that weird tension there. They no longer hated each other. They all three loved each other now.
Yep.
Listen, man, we saw some shit.
They're gonna be like 80 years old, and they're just gonna be like, I ever tell you the time that we watched all this shit happen?
How did you all three end up together? Well, I was dating this guy's ex-girlfriend, and then a clown tried to kill us, and he stabbed it in the fucking nose with a badge. So we just thought, let's bring him back in. He's useful.
Even better is gonna be the Ice Cream Boys, and they're 80. I ever tell you kids about how I fucked a clown?
Did I ever tell you about your mother? You've got like a half clown, half... Yeah. It's what they don't tell you was clowns breed very quickly.
Oh, the horrors.
The horrors. So that's how the movie ends. It plays the song that played in the end that I mentioned. They made a song just for it, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it existed before the Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
God, I hope not.
I'm just gonna say it. I didn't appreciate the cheesiness of it as a child. I was too young. My older brother loved this movie. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 on the rewatch. Four big boobed girl clowns out of 5. How about you, John, on the rewatch? What would you give it?
I remember as a kid just thinking it was a fever dream. And now as an adult watching it again and just being like, what did I just witness?
Hoping that it didn't exist, but it did.
It truly did. And I had to hide any evidence from my kids so they didn't have nightmares from that.
Why did my parents let me watch this at such a young age?
I would give it a 3 out of 5. Clown trying to lure a child out so that she could, bash it in the head with a giant hammer.
Oh yeah, you got to. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, John. It's always a pleasure. We'll definitely have more of you on this channel. If you liked this video, please subscribe and give us a like. Leave a comment saying what you want us to review next. As I'd mentioned in the last video, if you didn't like it, also leave a comment, dislike it. That way we can argue a bit, because that'll be fun and increase engagement. So haha, you're helping me no matter what. And thank you again, John. As I said before, like and subscribe, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.